Hello, my name is Robin Smart, and I'm honored to be your host for this Learning About Dementia series. As the education coordinator for the Alzheimer's Society Guelph Wellington, I truly know the value of learning about dementia if you, a family member, or anyone you know is affected. This series wouldn't be possible without the generous funding of the Guelph Community Foundation. Their support has allowed us to bring this series to you, and the Alzheimer's Society is sincerely grateful to the Guelph Community Foundation. We also extend thanks to the Village of Arbor Trails, who allowed us a location and provided refreshments for each of the sessions. But the biggest thanks goes to you for watching this DVD. There are 6 DVDs in the series, and although they build on each other, each one is designed to stand alone as well. We encourage you to watch all 6 in the series, but you can jump ahead to a topic that is of particular interest or really pertinent to you in your situation right now. After watching the DVDs, we encourage you to be in touch with our office for further education opportunities or to talk to one of our social workers. This DVD is about caregivers. It looks at how caregivers can be affected by that role and what steps they can take to support themselves on that journey. We examine the 10 signs of stress in care partners and 10 ways that that stress can be reduced. We also look at where services and supports are available in the community.
There's a very famous quote by Rosalind Carter. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who currently are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. So you're all covered. All of us, every one of us in this room is covered by that quote. And so whether or not you are currently caregiving, I think you might find something interesting today. The handouts that I brought for you today talking about caregiving are twofold, and they're going to take you in 2 different directions. One of the handouts is about reducing caregiver stress. We're going to cover that in the talk, and you have that to take away with you. The other one is called Ways to Help. And this is something that if you are a caregiver, you can pass on and give to other people. If they say, I want to help you, you say, here, have some information, and this is what you can do. So you have the 2 brochures in your handout today, and then the other brochure on the repetitive questions kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier in behaviors. So if we have 4 kinds of caregivers in the world, why do we need so many? Well, let's look at the statistics. This is current. This is accurate. I double-checked it today before I came out. I went and looked this morning. In Guelph and Wellington County this year, 3,315 people are living with Alzheimer's disease or a related dementia. That's over 3,300 people. ADRD stands for Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, and we really are the Alzheimer's and Related Dementia Society. We are here for any kind of dementia at all. At age 65, about 1 in 10 people are affected as the age rises, because we know age is the biggest risk factor for dementia. At about age 85, 1 in 3 people are affected. At 90 years of age, it's about 50-50. But not only seniors are affected. In Canada, there are over 71,000 people under the age of 65, and 50,000 of those people are under the age of 60 and have dementia. So our services are for anybody, any age, any type of dementia. Now, when we're talking about Alzheimer's disease, it truly does affect more women than men. 72% of the cases are females. In Canada, this is a new statistic, there's a new diagnosis every 4 minutes, Canada-wide, every 4 minutes. And worldwide, it's every 4 seconds. When I started in this business, it was every 7 seconds. Well, started at the Alzheimer's Society, it was every 7 seconds. When I read the ADI literature that came out this year, it's every 4 seconds now. And for every person diagnosed, there's approximately 10 others affected in some way. Their family, their friends, their coworkers, their employers, caregivers. So it truly is a disease that has a ripple effect. So who are the caregivers? Definitely spouses, partners are the largest group, without a doubt. But if we are talking about seniors, we're often talking about folks that have their own health issues as well on top of the caregiving. The second largest group, daughters, and they're often the sandwich generation. What do we call them? Salami on rye. They're in the middle. They're taking care of school-age children. They're taking care of elderly parents. And then daughters-in-law, they step up to the plate as the third largest group. Sons, certainly sons are involved, but often we see that men tend to take care of more instrumental things than hands-on things. They will mow the lawn and do the banking as opposed to more of the physical care. Siblings, we see brothers and sisters caring for brothers and sisters who again are often struggling with their own health issues. Grandchildren, particularly if it's a multi-generational house, grandchildren are involved, and others, friends, neighbors, relatives. So just about anybody is listed on that list somewhere. And sometimes we don't even notice that we're becoming a caregiver or a partner in care. There's a shift to caregiving, and it starts usually before the diagnosis. Because for a dementia, it's very slow progression. It takes years and years. It's very incremental. And so things kind of sometimes sneak up on us, and it's only in hindsight that we see what was happening. And the needs increase. Suddenly people, as their abilities decrease, they need more help with stuff, more supervision, more cueing, more help. And so when we start to be partners in care with somebody, it really adds a new dimension to the relationship. The relationship starts to change. Now, some things will stay the same, but some things will go, and some things will be new. And the give and take, it changes, unfortunately. And the balance of the relationship does change to become more one-sided over time. So something that was pretty much in harmony, 50-50, starts to shift. Now there's some really important aspects about caregiving. It certainly can provide a sense of purpose, meaning in people's lives. It's often fulfillment of a lifelong commitment to a spouse or a partner. It's an opportunity to give back often to parents or a parent. Some people say that they find a renewal in their religious faith. And sometimes we develop closer ties with people through new relationships. People we meet in support groups often become good, fast friends for years and years and years. Or it might strengthen existing relationships that we have. And those are positives that come with caregiving. But there are certainly a few negative things that can possibly come. Negative side effects, certainly employment complications, particularly if somebody is under the age of 65. Emotional distress, without doubt. Fatigue, poor physical health, becoming socially isolated, can lead to family conflicts. And certainly there's less time for yourself if you're a partner in care, for your own leisure activities, or for other family members. So when you're thinking about some of those negative effects, the question is, do you end up looking like the zebra who's unraveling due to stress? I think it's stress. Caregivers sometimes don't even recognize until the stripe's coming off how much stress they might be under. And there's lots of sources for that stress for caregivers. Maybe you don't have enough information. Maybe it's not enough information about the disease or not enough information about services in the community. We only have a finite amount of time and energy. How can you be all places doing all things in an excellent way all the time? Our own personal health problems, there can definitely be added expenses. And you're dealing with role changes, and that can be quite a challenge. And it's role changes whether we're talking about adult children caring for parents or whether we're talking about partners caring for each other. Everybody has roles and responsibilities in the family, and when dementia comes into the home, those things change. Some more sources of stress are having to make decisions when maybe you don't have the person you used to talk everything over with still available to talk everything over with. You're thinking sometimes for two. Family conflict, divergent opinions about the best way to proceed, changing roles in the family, the uncertainty. You've asked me several questions over the course of the series where I have to say, well, it really depends, because everybody has their own journey. And that uncertainty piece certainly fits in there. And the difficulties in communication. When words fail us and behavior becomes communication, that can be a real challenge. But I want you to think for a minute about sources of strength, because sometimes we're stronger than we know, and sometimes we've accomplished more and done more and forgotten more. And so I want you to think of a situation that you've been in where you really had to cope with change. Often we're a little resistive to change, but surely by now we've all come up against multiple situations where we had to cope with change. How did you manage? These are questions to think about. How did you manage? Did you succeed in going through it and eventually healing? Can you think of people who have inspired you in their ability to manage difficult situations? And from where do you draw your strength? Sometimes we need to stop and be a little reflective to think, I have been through challenges and I have made it to the other side. Sometimes we need to be reflective and think, all right, what would I be looking for? You know, I really like the way so-and-so managed her mom last week when I was there. I heard her speaking. I think I'm going to try that. Maybe we can gather from other people. Think about where you get your strength. Where do you get your support? Because you can't always just turn inwards. Maybe there are other people who can help support you. So I'm going to take you through the 10 signs of caregiver stress. See if you recognize yourself. Denial. Denial's the first thing. Oh no, they're going to get better. Oh no, this is only going to last 6 months. If you deny the diagnosis, if you've had 3 opinions and all 3 opinions are the same and you're still saying, nope, got to find another doctor, this is wrong, maybe that's not the best. Denial about the fact that it is a progressive disease and the effects of the disease on the person. Anger. Anger at the person. And yes, we all have moments of anger, but this is really something where we're angry all the time. We're angry with others. We're angry with God. We're angry with ourselves. It's sort of an unremitting. It's not a little incident. It's a way of being. Withdrawing socially. People call and you don't want to stay in touch with your friends. You don't want to participate in activities. You don't care about going out. Now, if you never went out in the first place, then this isn't a difference for you. But if it's something that you did and now you're not doing, then that's a red flag. Anxiety. Anxiety about facing the day, about how specific parts of the day are going to go, about facing the future in general. Depression, feeling sad and hopeless or blue or tearful or really irritable. And often in seniors, they say that depression presents as cranky, as irritable, as really out of sorts, more than constant crying. You just don't care, you know? Exhaustion, no energy. You can hardly get through the things you have to do, let alone things you might want to do. You feel tired all the time. You wake up tired. Sleeplessness, you have trouble going to sleep, or you often wake up in the night and then you can't get back to sleep, or you have nightmares or anxiety dreams. Emotional reactions, you cry at just the least little thing. You're often irritable and testy. Your reactions are really out of proportion to the events. These are red flags. And I think that emotional reaction piece has to go along with looking a tiny bit at grieving. Because the nature of grief in dementia is a little different than some other diseases. Grief encompasses past, present, future losses for the family and the person with dementia. Everybody has an experience with grief. And the grief is so challenging because it's ambiguous. They call it ambiguous loss. In other words, the person is present, but they're different. And it's a progressive loss. You see, and then you see different, and then you see different, and then you see different. And they call it disenfranchised grief. It's that other people don't necessarily recognize the losses, and so somebody, a caregiver, might feel very isolated or helpless or angry. So you're not getting the social supports from society, and you're not getting the support from the person because they've changed due to the disease. And so they can be very challenging. And I think it's important to really acknowledge the losses. And again, I'm going to encourage you to think about support groups. If that's a route that you're comfortable going, they can be of great value to you. When you acknowledge your loss, you then have a couple of choices. You can cope either by accepting what's going on and coming to terms with it, or you can cope by avoidance. They're kind of two ways people cope. But it's really important that you identify and understand your emotional state as normal. It's typical. It's maybe what people aren't saying, but everybody's going through. So having that emotional grieving period with dementia, very, very, very common. One of the other signs is a lack of ability to concentrate. Now, if you never could concentrate, again, you can't measure yourself this way, but if you're having trouble focusing, it's too difficult to complete complex tasks, it's hard to concentrate, but these were things you did before, then again, that's a little red flag. Health problems, weight loss that you aren't trying to accomplish, weight gain, sick a lot, colds and flu, and then you just get over it and you get another cold. Frequent headaches, chronic health problems, backaches, high blood pressure. Unfortunately, caregivers often are so busy caring for somebody else, they neglect their own health, and it sneaks up on you. So what do we want to do about these things? Those are some of the red flags, and they're all written out in the brochure for you. But how can we decrease caregiver stress? It was Francis Bacon. Now, I didn't know him personally because he lived in 1561 to 1626, and I was not around. But he said knowledge is power, and I'm sure you've heard that. You've probably said it yourself under certain circumstances. But it is true. When you learn about the disease, you can prepare strategies. You can understand how the disease affects a person. You can understand why certain behaviors are happening. We have given you just the barest smidgen in these 6 lectures. We've really just scratched the surface for you, kind of hoping to open the door that you'll come back and get more information, get details, take other courses. But information is valuable. There was a New York caregiver study done with Dr. Mary Mittelman. And what they did is they looked at situations where people with dementia and their partners in care were supported. Within a fixed period of time, people received individual counseling and family counseling. And that was for a set time period. And then over the entire course of the disease, the caregiver would participate in a support group, and there was consultation for a caregiver or a family member over the phone as needed. Those are kind of like the services the Alzheimer's Society supplies for you. And what they discovered, I think this is what's so important, what they discovered is that the caregivers who took the education and the support were able to keep people at home for approximately 18 months longer. So it delayed the going into long-term care or going into a facility for about a year and a half, when caregivers said, yep, I am going to take education, I am going to get support, I am going to call people when I'm running into trouble, get some advice, get some ideas. So I encourage you, that's pretty telling evidence there. But people had reasons not to do this. Really compelling literature, but people said, no, I'm too tired and worn out to participate. I have my own health issues, I just can't get there, can't do this. There's no family or nobody who's going to be willing to do this. People couldn't make the time commitment to the program, and there were privacy issues. They didn't want to open up their personal lives in front of other people. So people had lots of reasons not to do it. But in the end, the conclusion was, if you could get past those concerns, work them out somehow, that the comprehensive counseling model, such as the New York study, effectively met the goal of delaying institutionalization and offered benefits during the transition as well. So when people did need to go into care, again, the families coped much better when they'd had this background. And this kind of brings us to being realistic. You do need to be realistic. It is a tough situation to look at, but we know that changes are going to occur over time. We know it's progressive, and so we need to future plan. And you can more easily, obviously, adjust your expectations and reduce stress if you don't have unrealistic ideas. So knowing your limitations, asking some true questions of yourself. How much can you do? What do you value the most? Are you willing to sort of prioritize what's most important versus what's secondary? Are you willing to ask for assistance and getting support both physically and emotionally, getting people to help you do things, getting people you can talk to? These are important things so you don't go it alone. Accepting your feelings. You may experience a wide range of feelings. And you'll notice that list there, it's got some that we think of as good feelings, the happiness, the contentment. It's got some that we think of as negative feelings, the anger and the sadness. But it's a mix, and we usually, as caregivers, experience all those different emotions. And it's not one a day. You can be experiencing multiple emotions all of the time. So let's think about dealing with those conflicting emotions, because one side of the screen has some rather negative things. There's the loss and grief, resentment or anger. Nobody signed up for this. Frustration, helplessness, depression, fear about how maybe your family member is going to be cared for if something should happen to you, guilt, inadequacy. Those are things that caregivers feel, and those are pretty scary for a lot of people. On the other side, on the balancing side, there's often pleasure and satisfaction of giving of yourself. There's a sense of purpose, a feeling of being needed, and pulling together. Sometimes we see families truly pull together to give care. So I'm thinking, are there other emotions, positive or negative, that you might want to add to that list? There are a lot of changes that families go through. The roles change, the organization goes. Caregiving is a 24-hour, 365-day-a-year job. Maybe you feel like you can't take time for yourself. Maybe you're really frustrated at hearing the same question or the same issue over and over again. But be aware that there's some positives along with it. And how do you dissipate that? You talk to other people. It can be a close family member. It can be a friend. You can join a support group. You have to go through our social work team, so simply call up, ask to speak to the social worker. They'll see, what would be the right fit, the right group, the right time for you. Consult with a healthcare professional. Talk to a member of your religious community if that's appropriate. Speak to a counselor. It doesn't have to be expensive. The Guelph Counseling Center, just for example, is a geared to income counseling situation. So there are opportunities, and the idea is not to go it alone. There are certainly benefits of support groups. They can offer role models to emulate. Caregivers share ideas and information and support each other, and there are facilitators there to help you learn skills. You might learn how to be more patient. You might learn how to advocate for somebody. You might learn how to be assertive with people that are coming into your home without being a difficult situation, just to stand up for people's rights. You can express your feelings. It's a safe place to express what's happening. And it really normalizes your experience, because often caregivers feel they're the only ones going through this. And then you sit there and you listen as people go around the circle and you realize, yep, that's sort of where I'm at. Sharing information is really important. Sharing it with other people that are coming into your home, whether it's family and friends, so they understand about the disease. Because with knowledge, people will feel more comfortable to come in. They'll be more prepared to come and support you and the person who has the diagnosis. Knowledge can increase everybody's comfort level and can increase their ability to interact in a positive way. As much as you can, encourage you to keep positive, to see that your attitude really does affect how you feel. You know that old slogan, fake it till you make it? You're supposed to slap a smile on till you feel happy again. But your attitude will affect your health, how you interact with other people. So try to focus on remaining abilities, enjoy the moments that you have, stay focused on the day itself. See the positive. They certainly encourage you. I hope you all had a sense of humor to start with. It's hard to develop one if you never had one. I hope you come with a sense of humor, but let that sense of humor out. Try to see the funny side in things. Try to laugh daily, to revisit childlike. Children are very spontaneous in their enjoyment of things. And maybe we need to recapture that ability to just spontaneously enjoy something. Even if it is the dandelions in the middle of your manicured lawn, you know, how pretty and yellow they are. There are a few quotes on the screen, and I think the first one from Captain Gerald Coffey, who was a prisoner of war, that laughter sets the spirit free to move through even the most tragic circumstances, is one that certainly speaks to the journey that caregivers are sometimes taking. Lord Byron, again, very famous. Everybody's heard of Lord Byron. What does he say? Always laugh when you can. It's cheap medicine. And he's absolutely right. There are laughter yoga clubs now that specialize in teaching people how to laugh. Because even if you're faking it, even if you're just pretend laughing, once you get your body laughing, you release all sorts of endorphins. You give yourself a bit of a physical workout. There's reasons to laugh. So do it for your own health. And Mark Twain, against the force of laughter, nothing can stand. Laughter is a good way to diffuse situations sometimes, to find the joke and find the humor. I'm going to encourage you as much as possible to take care of yourself. You're so busy sometimes taking care of somebody else that you neglect to exercise and eat well. Remember on that list of health changes, one was weight loss and one was weight gain, and they were side by side. We see weight loss when people are just too tired to eat. They make sure the person eats, but they don't feed themselves. And the weight gain, they don't cook. They're just living on chocolate bars or whatever they can grab as they go. So you need to exercise and eat well. We know it's good for our emotional and mental health, but we also know it's good for our brain health. We can do exercise every day, some sort of physical activity every day, and eat a heart-smart diet. We know that's good for our brains. Practice any kind of relaxation that works for you. Deep breathing, visualization, yoga, tai chi, meditation. You don't have to sit cross-legged and hum. You can sit in a comfortable chair and just mentally take yourself to a beautiful garden. You know, these things are doable. It takes us training ourselves that it's okay to take 5 minutes for ourselves to do these things. Try to get some rest and allow time each day just for you. Try to maintain your interests and hobbies. You might not be able to do them as often, but don't give up everything, because someday you're going to want to be involved in those things again. And try to keep in touch with family and friends. We have a bonus. Technology lets us easily be interacting with others if we choose. Please don't go it alone. It's really not a good idea for you or the person who has the disease. Get group or get individualized support, respite, formal or informal. Here at St. Joe's, were you reading in the paper just last week, another expansion to the respite program through the Out and About Day program. There are now 7 days a week respite available take advantage of these programs. They're there for you. Agencies or services can come and help with household chores, and people are really very willing to help. They want specific tasks, though. You need to be pretty detailed. Could you make me 2 casseroles next time you're cooking, and I'll put them in the freezer for when we're having a bad day? Could you pick up my dry cleaning? Could you, or come over and get the laundry, take it home, wash it, fold it, just bring it back done for me? Could you go to the store and buy me a supply of birthday cards so I've got them in the house? If you're specific about what you would like, people will often be very happy to take care of those things. Come over and sit with Fred while I go and do something. Or stop at Timmy's, bring us some coffee, have a visit. Say exactly what you need. People usually want to do that. Planning for the future can really help reduce stress later in life. And that's why when I was earlier talking about whether somebody has the ability to have insight into the disease process, is it early in the disease process? If it is, you certainly want to involve them in that discussion. If, though, they aren't able to participate in that discussion, if time has marched on and the disease has changed their ability to understand, comprehend, and appreciate, then maybe this is something that you need to do. But the sooner you do it, the better. Legal and estate planning, choices for health care, they're really saying powers of attorney there. You want to get your powers of attorney in place. Alternate living plans, deciding about if this happens in the future, how do we want it to pan out? And think about your own expectations of yourself. Are they realistic? Do you think that all caregivers are strong, courageous individuals? Caregivers are human beings, and we all have our frailties and our weaknesses. And the question is, do you see yourself as somebody who has to wear a Superman cape all the time? Because I'll tell you, if you never take your Superman cape off, it's going to get awfully dirty and awfully tattered and awfully worn. It's truly better for you and the person if you take that Superman cape off sometimes, hang it in the closet or send it to the laundry or have it pressed, take a break, step back, refresh yourself. Don't put totally unrealistic expectations on yourself. So where can you look for help? There's lots of places. You can certainly look for the Alzheimer and Related Dementia Society, your CCAC, that's the Community Care Access Center, or the Community Mental Health Association of Waterloo, Wellington, Dufferin, formerly known as Trellis. Now it's a mouthful to say, isn't it? All of those people, all of those services are available to you at no charge. You just need to get hooked into the service, and if you're having trouble getting to a service, again, make an appointment, talk to the people at the Alzheimer's Society, because they can often make referrals, let you know what's out there, get you hooked in where you need to be. There's some ideas, some ideas from others. One, I read about a gentleman, and he referred to it as transparent caregiving. And what he did is he lived out of town. His father had dementia, and his father was still living in his own home, and he was concerned about his dad. And he lived out of town, so he wasn't seeing his dad on a daily basis. But what he did is he sort of got in touch with his dad's friends and his dad's companions and his dad's neighbors. And he set it up so that on certain days, different people would stop in or phone or visit, or they had a date to go to Tim's. And so his father never really realized that people were there supporting him. He just thought all his friends were friendly and came by on a regular basis, and wasn't that wonderful? And the son felt that he could trust that these folks, if they were seeing something, would get back to him and let him know, because he couldn't be there and see for himself. So sometimes caregiving doesn't have to be that formal. Sometimes you don't have to have an outside hired agency be coming in. Sometimes you can just do something a little more casually with family and friends to supplement what you're doing yourself as a family. The other thing that I have read consistently, in fact, we had a professor up to speak about this because there's so much literature on it, is the value of journaling, of truly writing down, and it doesn't matter the grammar or the spelling or the syntax, but writing out your feelings, writing out what's happening in your life, getting it out of your head, through your fingers, down the ink, and onto the paper. Expressing your thoughts and feelings can really help you come to terms with a variety of circumstances that you're facing. It's sometimes surprising even to you what flows out of you. When your words won't come, sometimes writing will come. It can help you get rid of emotions that you might not want to articulate. You can get them out another way. And it can give you a record to give you some perspective as the journey progresses. So people have really recommended that writing is a valuable tool if you'll consider it. Focusing on the needs. So what are you doing for your family member that they used to do for themselves, or that they used to do for you, or that they used to do for other members of the family? So think about, these are things that you might be doing now that you didn't do in the past. And when you think about those things, when you figure out the things that they used to do that they're not doing, things that you're doing, is there anything on that list that no longer needs to be done, that you could let go of or could be done less often? Is there something that another family member could step up and take instead of you? Is there someone you can hire to do that? Or do you need some help from a variety of community support services? So when you look at exactly what the situation and the issues are, you can look at those questions and then think about what changes might I want to make? How might I support myself? You definitely want to keep your own needs in mind when you're doing some planning. Think about what are the most important things for you, things that matter to you. You may do them a little less, you may do them for shorter periods, I mentioned that earlier, but it's really important to keep connected to your own activities and interests when you're giving care to another. It truly helps you maintain your own physical and emotional health. Think of yourselves as a sugar bowl. You're the sugar bowl. And what you want to do is have some sugar in that bowl that you can take out and sprinkle onto the life of the person that has dementia and the other people that you interact with. And if you don't stop and replenish that sugar bowl, it is going to empty really quickly. So if you want to keep your sugar bowl full, you really do have to take some breaks or have some pleasure in your life. Now my chiropractor, he won't let me do that. I don't know if your chiropractor will let you do that. So if you can't stay physical or flexible physically, certainly stay flexible mentally. If your attitude is one that it's either my way or the highway, then you're probably going to be really stressed. And you're constantly juggling needs. As a partner in care, you're juggling the needs of the person with dementia, the family needs, the needs to look after your home, maybe other responsibility that you have, and continuously reassessing, because this is progressive and the disease does change, what's your priority for the day or what's your priority for the hour. And feel free, this is where the flexibility comes in, feel free to drop what is shifted to a lower priority and do what is the current important priority now. So think about that. So consider how truly important something is and pick your battles. For the sake of the person you care for as well as for yourself, please use the supports available. And I'm going to encourage you to stay proud of yourself. It takes an awful lot to care for another, to care for yourself, to cope with your grief, to stay strong for the rest of your family. You're doing really valuable work. So thank you for that very much. I just want to acknowledge some of the references. I took this from some books and some other, the VON and some other talks that we've given in the past. And I'm going to put up the contact for free services. Lauren, if you want to go back near the lights, I'm going to ask that you bring the lights up for a minute because I want to show this book to folks. I only brought one as a sample. This is not a handout for everybody, but it's called All About Me. And if you are a caregiver, I would seriously consider getting one of these for free from the Alzheimer's Society and filling it in so that if for any reason you weren't there and somebody had to sub for you, or if for any reason somebody went into care, you can hand the book over, and it's an instant synopsis of all the years of intelligence you have gathered about the person and the best way to work with the person in one handy written document. So the book All About Me, you've got a space for a picture, covers introduction, contact information, important numbers, medical information, my personal life in the past, likes and dislikes, a typical day, enjoying each day, helping with daily living, charts you can fill out, meal times, weekly activities, special considerations. We can get you replacement pages because things change as time goes on, or a new book. But I would encourage you to, and depending on where somebody is in the journey, do it with the person and fill that out and have it ready to go so that if you do decide to have community supports and somebody starts coming in to share care with you, you have something that helps them know the person and give them the same specialized care that you've been giving all along. Once again, on the screen is the contact information. It's on the back of the brochures that you received today. If you want to talk to somebody in family support at the Society, please just give a call and make an appointment. And I thank you so much for coming out today.